People, what's the stupidest thing you've done because of lust? And was it worth it? I stupidly gave my coworker a blowy, and it screwed up my life. Yeah, it's caused problems. You see, I am in a relationship. I'm even kinda engaged. But things haven't been going too great for us. Not that that's an excuse. It's just he's been kind of a jerk lately, and we haven't been having as much intimate time, and he's being really insecure about stupid things. Like the guys I work with. It's been ticking me off for a while now. I don't like being accused of things. But well, I messed up. Big time. My whole life feels like a mess right now. I was at work, and the guy who always flirts with me was doing his usual thing. We had to go somewhere together, and I couldn't resist teasing him about his car, joking that he was compensating for something. He tried to play it off, but I called his bluff. Honestly, I was just kidding. I really was. But the truth is, I shouldn't have flirted back. I was just so fed up with everything in my personal life that it felt like a good distraction. So I called his bluff. He asked if I was serious, and I wasn't, but I said, sure, prove it, thinking he wouldn't actually do it. But he did. He pulled out his popsicle. I was absolutely shocked and just nervously laughed. There it was, his popsicle. Not hard, but it was massive. I couldn't believe it. The ridiculousness of the whole situation made me forget that this was probably a bad idea. I was stunned by how big it was and even blurted out, "Holy crap, it's huge." I was laughing. He was laughing. He moved it around a bit with his hand. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was just so stunned. But as I held it, the laughter died down, and that's when it shifted, and it became something else. I should have stopped right then, but I didn't. Next thing I know, I'm slurping the popsicle. But it was so big, I could barely get half in my mouth. I did my best, and it didn't take long before I was full. Reality set in after I did it. I sat up, terrified of the ramifications of what I just did. I swore him to secrecy, but that didn't last, and it's made everything very messed up in my life since. Before we continue, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Story 2. Probably the most ridiculous place I've ever done it. A tree branch in a public park. I kid you not, my girlfriend at the time was doing her thing while I was trying to balance on a branch that was barely the width of my shoulders. Not exactly the most stable setup. I was already struggling to stay in the moment, clinging to the tree like a koala in distress. And right as she, reached the final line, I lost my balance and slipped. She grabbed me, I grabbed the branch, and the sudden jerk drove me in so hard I genuinely thought I broke my damn pelvis, or worse. But wait, it gets worse. Right at that moment, a police cruiser rolled up because they spotted our parked car. The spotlight hit us mid-scream like it was a scene from some twisted sitcom. And who steps out? A drop-dead gorgeous female officer. And not only did she not arrest us, she found the whole thing absolutely hysterical. So hysterical, in fact, that she apparently told the story at police functions for years. I know this because a couple of years later, I started working at a local detention facility. One night she came in with a new inmate, took one look at me, and absolutely lost it. Word spread fast. I got roasted by 3 different departments for years. But wait, it gets even worse. Fast forward nearly 2 decades. I'd left detention work behind and was now a lecturer at a small college. Super professional. Kept a strict, I'm basically a robot vibe with my students. No one needed to know I had a life outside grading papers. Graduation day comes, and I'm doing the obligatory awkward mingling. One of my most challenging students, the kind that tested every limit of classroom decorum, introduces me to her parents. It's her, the cop. She takes one look at me, giggles, snorts 3 times, and then exclaims loud enough for half the venue to hear. I think I just peed a little. Needless to say, I've never looked at tree branches the same way since. Story 3. Shared my wife's pie with a 19-year-old. This past weekend we were looking for some fun and got hit up by a 19-year-old who admitted he still had his V-card intact, looking for his first. My wife hadn't taken someone's full V-card in 10+ years, and this would be her biggest age gap with a younger guy. He sent a few pics, slim guy with a long uncut dong, and she liked what she saw, so we decided to try it out. We invited him over to our place on Friday night and thought it would be easiest to get straight to it in the bedroom. My wife was already ready in her inners, showing off her buns as she took off his, and from our bedroom couch I could see his big, smooth dong pop out. It was fully up and ready. I thought she was going to start by giving him a blowy, but she immediately turned around. I then watched them do it, Scooby-Doo style. After they were done, they lay down on the bed catching a break, and then continued for round 2. You could tell he had more confidence this time, and I began to solo watching them having fun. Then he got up, and we got towels to clean up. He talked about how good she felt, and was really thankful for the experience. My wife thought being the center of that core experience was really hot, and would do it again. And honestly, I feel the same. Story 4. Alright, I don't expect anyone to believe this, but here goes. When I was just shy of 20, I worked at a pizza place. That's where I met her, a woman 9 years older, absolutely gorgeous, adventurous, wild, and very married. Her husband looked like a tattooed Viking, and was at least 3 times my size. Naturally, she started showing up during my lunch break just to chat. This went on for a while, until she floated the idea that I switched to being a delivery driver so we could have alone time at her house. The problem was I was the opening shift manager. Switching would mean a pay cut. She told me, "You'll make it back, and then some in tips and other frivolities." Yes, she actually said frivolities. I'll never forget it. So I made the switch. Turns out, she wasn't the only one ordering delivery. I only ever got to her place once while working there. Terrible plan. That's when I had an idea. I quit, picked up a night shift at a warehouse, but kept my pizza place shirt, the delivery bag, and the car decal. The owner wasn't thrilled when I told him I lost all that gear, and told me not to come back. Fast forward a bit. I started ordering her pizzas from a different joint, then showing up to deliver them to her a couple times a week. Life was good. For a while. Eventually, her husband started wondering why Redacted. S Pizzeria was suddenly delivering pizzas in Domino's boxes. Let's just say, I was found out. He confronted me, grabbed me by the collar of my fake uniform, yelled at me, and confiscated the delivery bag and decal. Honestly, considering the situation, the man showed remarkable restraint. But here's the kicker. She divorced him the next year. We got engaged. What followed was 6 years of chaotic highs and lows, and one brutal divorce. Moral of the story? Next time you see a guy in a corno show up to deliver a large sausage pizza, look into his eyes. You might just catch a glimpse of the pain. Story 5. I once confessed to a girl as we were walking down the road how much I was in love with her, and how very, very badly I wanted her. Almost in a queue, we came up to an old train track that had been asphalted over, but you could still see the bulge of one of the railroad spikes. She said, "If you pull that out, you got it." That night, I came back with a sledgehammer, and it still took several hours to get it out. I showed up in her house around 3 a.m., and her roommate just sent me right into her bedroom. I woke her up covered in sweat, grime, rock dust, and blood, holding out that railroad spike with a face-splitting grin. Best night ever. Story 6. So, one random day, this girl messages me on Facebook asking to hang out. We weren't friends on there, never hung out in real life, didn't share any friend circles. I just vaguely recognized her from around town. That's it. I was in an Xbox party with my buddy at the time, so I wasn't taking it seriously. I jokingly replied, "Not unless you want your buns ate, lol." She hits back with, "Okay, lol." Next thing I know, I'm meeting her down some random road and getting into her car. Now, I had never done anything like this before, but I followed through on the joke for like 20 seconds. Things escalated quickly from there. It all lasted maybe 45 seconds tops. Afterward, I helped clean up, said something classy like, "Welp, guess I'll see you later." And she just chuckled and said bye. By the time I got home, I had about 5 messages from her saying, "Oh, by the way, I have herpes. You might want to get checked." And then, plot twist, I get a message from some random dude asking if I'd been with her. He starts ranting, saying she has herpes, didn't tell me, and was apparently trying to get pregnant by someone else. I'm standing there like, what just happened? Turns out, her boyfriend, yeah, she had a boyfriend, I had no clue, probably saw our messages, logged into her account, and went full revenge mode. I panicked, blocked them both, and spent the next 30 to 45 minutes in my bathroom scrubbing myself like I was trying to erase a crime scene. Afterward, my buddy from the Xbox party started calling me Facebook herpes. And that became our inside joke, until we stopped being friends. But hey, the nickname lives on. Story 7. Bailed on all of my friends and family during family day after basic training in the army to hook up with this chick who was pretty much the biggest walking red flag. If we had gotten caught, I could have ruined my entire career. She ended up trying to baby trap me because her goal was to fake an injury and get kicked out after I knocked her up so she could still get army benefits. She ended up doing the same thing a few weeks later to another guy, but he actually knocked her up. Edit, not worth it. She was only basic training pretty, which is like a half step below drunk pretty. Story 8. At university, I had a girlfriend who lived in another state more than 3 hours away. I met her at a public university since we were studying together, but after a couple of terms, that public university has 3 school terms a year. I changed to a private university, and she continued at the same university. Because of the terms and semesters, our vacations were out of date and did not coincide, so she went to her hometown during her vacation periods. Since her parents were teachers at a school and their school calendar coincided with mine, she was normally alone at home all morning, and her parents returned from work until 4 to 4:30 p.m., so often I pretended to go to university. But I really went to the bus station and took a bus to go and see her, so I always left around 7 a.m. for her town, arrived there between 10 to 10:30 a.m. We used to had breakfast, and the rest of the time we were busy catching, more or less until 3:30 p.m., which was the time I had to left her house and head to the terminal and take the bus back, arriving my home approximately at 7:30 to 8 p.m. Unfortunately, sometime later I realized that this girl applied the same procedure with other guys who were after her. Nowadays I remember back and did not regret it at all. Story 9. I banged my friend's married mom. I have been best friends with Ryan since we were in high school. We are both named Ryan, by the way. We always had a lot of fun back then. Both of us had spent a lot of time at each other's homes, and our parents didn't seem to mind. We finished high school and went off to different colleges, but as time went by we drifted apart. I finished college and returned home to find a job. Ryan did not return to our hometown after college, but found a job in the city instead. He did return home for the holidays that year and invited me over to watch a hockey game and reminisce about old times. I was really looking forward to seeing Ryan and his family again. It had been some time since we had seen each other. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. The place still looked the same, and it felt like coming back in time. Ryan answered the door. "Hey, Ryan, long time no see, man." "Yeah, where have you been hiding anyway?" I asked him, and we both laughed. He had not changed a bit. He was still the same as ever. "Come on in," he said. I walked in and removed my coat and boots. Nothing had changed. It was like stepping back in time. The house looked and smelled the same as it always did. We went into the living room and sat down to watch some hockey and relive old times. I noticed a woman walk down the hall. She had a nice buns on her. Her jeans were perfectly molded to them. Whoever she was, it was a nice sight even if I didn't see her face, and I thought they must have other visitors too. A little while later, Ryan's mom's voice came from behind us and asked us if we would like a beer. I turned to greet her, and my eyes almost popped out of my head. It had been Ryan's mom in the hall. "Whoa, Mrs. C, you look awesome," I blurted before I realized what I had said. Last time I had seen her, she was at least 50 pounds heavier, and now she didn't look that much older than I did. The weight loss had done wonders for her figure, but it didn't stop there. She had a different way about her. She was more confident and much more open. She blushed a little and said, "Thanks, Ryan. You look like you are doing well too. Do you young men want a beer to go with the hockey?" She almost sounded flirty, but I must be imagining things. "Sure. That would be great." My eyes must have been burning a hole in her back. I was sure I was staring. She had a really nice figure. I hoped Ryan never noticed me ogling his mom. She returned with the beer and handed one to Ryan and leaned over a bit to hand me mine. Her top was low cut, and when she leaned toward me it gaped just enough, so I caught a glimpse of what was inside. It was just a plain white cotton t-shirt, but underneath was a red lacy inner, and I could see the tops of her soft muffins. "Thanks," I managed to croak out. She stood straight and said, "Don't be a stranger, Ryan. Feel free to visit any time." Was she flirting with me? Did she hand me that beer like that knowing full well what it did to me? I was starting to think she did, but that was crazy. She was my best bud's mom. "Sure, Mrs. C, I'll be sure to visit Ryan a lot while he's here," I said. I wanted to see what she would say. Would she take the bait? She did. I knew what she had really meant, and she knew what I had meant too. The big question was, would it get to go any further? I hoped so. I wanted it so damn bad. I went to bed that night, and the thought of her was still in my mind. I could not shake it. By now I had a raging stiffy. I thought of her, and I started my solo session without even realizing it. I remembered how she walked away from me and how her hips swung provocatively in front of my eyes. I didn't go over to Ryan's place again. I knew I would have given my inappropriate thoughts of Ryan's mom away. I did call and gave Ryan my address and invited him over to my place. We enjoyed each other's company that holiday and decided to keep in touch. It was like old times, except for the spicy dreams of his mom. One night in mid-January, my doorbell rang. It was Ryan's mom. What the hell was she doing here on my doorstep anyway? How had she found where I lived anyway? Ryan must have left my address out where she saw it. I took a deep breath and opened my door. I was hoping for an afternoon bang, but that was silly. That was just a fantasy, right? I knew I was going to have to solo it out after she left again. I don't know why she had this effect on me, but I could do nothing about it. "Hi Ryan, may I come inside?" she asked me. "Yeah, come on in, Mrs. C," I said. I could smell her perfume, and it smelled really good, sexy and classy at the same time. She came inside, and I closed the door behind her. Her perfume followed her in and was teasing my nose and my dong. "Ryan, I think by now you can call me Kate. We are both adults now." She looked at me with a slight smile on her lips. I could not help looking at them. They were full and were nice pink shade with a shiny gloss on them. She had a long black wool coat on and a pair of tall black boots. She looked hot and she knew it. "Okay, but it's habit to call you Mrs. C, you know." That sounded really dumb. She had me totally flustered by her presence. She walked by me without taking off her coat or boots and looked around my small apartment. I found that odd. Maybe she only just dropped by for a minute or something. The place was fairly neat, thank God. "Looks like a nice place, Ryan," she said. "A real bachelor's pad." I was at a loss for what to say or do, so I sat on my sofa. She turned and saw me there. I must have had a really stupid look on my face because she said, "I bet you wonder why I stopped over." Hell yeah, but I never said a thing. She walked toward me and slowly unbuttoned her coat. No way could I move because I had a raging stiffy, again. Her long black coat was unbuttoned now, and she was right in front of me. She slipped it off, and all she had on was a sexy black inners with a garter belt and stockings in her tall black boots. She stood still and let me look. She had the naughtiest look on her face I had ever seen on woman. She came closer, and I could feel the heat between us. We made out for a while, and then it finally happened. We banged, and it was amazing. She collapsed against my chest, and I could feel her chest heaving against my chest. They felt soft and slick with sweat and very hot. After taking a short break, we were ready for round 2. We were just touching and teasing each other. "Are you going to bang me now?" she asked me. I tried to move, but she held me tightly. "Yes, but I don't want it to end so quickly," I told her. "Who said we'll end it? I think I need to check up on you at least once or twice a week, don't you?" She wanted to have an affair with me, lucky me. "I do not want anything from you, but a good time. Do you understand?" I understood perfectly. I wanted the same. "Yes, Kate, I think it's a really good idea." Her legs let me go, and I started to bang her. This was one of the hottest bang I ever had in my life, and I wanted many more of them. Now Kate comes over twice a week to check up on me, and we clap each other's brains out. Her husband and son have no clue, and I am not telling them. Nobody has a clue, and that's the way we like it. Story 10. A girl that I was dating woke me up by calling me whenever she got home from the bar with friends. She had a few drinks, and was with another frisky lady friend, and was begging me to come over for a 3 score. I got dressed and drove across town at 2 a.m. as quick as I could, only to find them both passed out in different rooms, with little recollection about the phone call. It was a very disappointing drive back home alone. Story 11. About 7 years ago, when I was 25, I came across a Craigslist post from this girl around 1 a.m. Something about it just hit different. By 3 a.m., I was at her place, drove an hour just to get there. The whole way, I kept thinking, what if this is a setup? What if I get robbed, or worse? But honestly, the desire to hook up with a Latina overpowered any hesitation. And man, it was worth it. She was super cute, the vibe was right, and the session was incredible. No regrets. Easily one of the best spontaneous nights I've ever had. But it didn't end there. I ended up seeing her a few more times over the next few months. What always stood out to me was how available she was. Like, it didn't matter if I hit her up at noon on a Tuesday or 2 a.m. on a Sunday. She was always down to meet up. Meanwhile, I was moving heaven and earth to fit her into my schedule around work. Eventually, I got curious and asked her, How are you always free? What do you do for a living? She smiled and told me she was an escort, and not just casually. She charged $1,200 an hour. Then she showed me pictures, shared wild stories, the whole deal. I did the math in my head and said, so wait, someone would have had to spend close to $100,000 to get the kind of time I've had with you? She laughed and said most of her clients were older men who didn't do much for her in bed. She always used protection with them, and none of them got to eat her taco. Meanwhile, there I was, munching for hours, no protection, no payment. Just pure, unfiltered fun. Sometimes life just tosses you a wild one out of nowhere. Story 12. There's a long list of questionable decisions I've made, but one that really stands out happened when I was about 18. I'd been talking to this girl I met online, and one night I decided to drive about 25 miles to see her. Middle of the night, printed MapQuest directions in the passenger seat, and she lived way up in the hills above Hollywood. We ended up hanging outside her place, smoking cigarettes and talking. Then out of nowhere, she points across the street and tells me the house over there is used for filming, and that it's unlocked. Instantly, my brain went to this as how people get mugged. Or murdered. But she was this gorgeous goth girl, my weakness at the time, and honestly, the first one who ever showed serious interest in me. So despite every internal red flag, I said screw it and followed her inside. Looking back, I still don't know if it was a smart move. But things played out in my favor that night, and sometimes that's all that matters. She was on her period, so we didn't smash, but I got to get a BJ/HJ overlooking Hollywood in a house I still can't afford. I've been in a committed relationship for a while now, but if I were single and found myself in a similar situation again, there's no way I'd just walk blindly into something that could go sideways fast, especially not for a shot at some random hookup. At this point in life, I just offer to split a hotel room and keep it simple and safe. Story 13. Back in the day, I had a long-running fling with a girl I went to high school with. Things between us were always intense, very physical, very passionate, but she had some religious hang-ups that kept us from ever going all the way. That dynamic carried on even after we graduated and went off to different universities on opposite ends of the state. Come spring break, I was single with no plans or regular partners, and out of the blue, she called and asked if I was free. I said sure, and made the trip to go visit her. When I arrived, she greeted me with a big hug. I got a little handsy, pretty standard for us, and she responded by grabbing my ass, which I definitely took as a good sign. Then, right after that, she introduced me to her new boyfriend. Yeah, that threw me off. She spent the rest of the day showing me around her campus with him tagging along. After dinner, we headed back to her dorm to watch a movie. It was awkward, and I was just about ready to dip. About 20 minutes into the movie, she says she's cold, grabs a blanket, and throws it over the three of us. She sits between us, and a few minutes later, I feel her hand slowly making its way to my lap. I knew exactly what was coming, so I discreetly got ready. Honestly, I think he had an idea of what was happening too. Dorm rules said guests of the opposite gender had to leave by 8 p.m., and he suddenly decided to bounce, saying he didn't want to get caught. She told him I'd be heading out soon too to crash at a friend's dorm, which was news to me. Not even 2 minutes later, the floor RA knocked on the door, saying I had to leave. Turns out he'd gone and told her. Ironically, I actually knew the RA and was able to smooth things over. That night, she vented about him nonstop. Apparently, he refused to sleep with her due to his religious beliefs. One thing led to another, and I ended up being the one to take her virginity. We ended up sleeping together multiple times over that long weekend. She broke up with him right after I left. Looking back, I honestly don't feel great about it. Yeah, the guy was kind of a religious hardliner, but he didn't seem like a bad dude. The next guy she dated was the same type, very religious, and she hit me up with the same kind of offer. That time, I declined. She ended up marrying him, and they're still together. I eventually went no contact with her. The chemistry between us was just too strong, and neither of us had any breaks when it came to lust. It was fun, chaotic, and ultimately not worth the mess. Story 14. I got a HJ from a stranger at the unconventional spa, next to my partner. A lot has happened to me in the last year that I can barely believe was real. One thing is that I lost my beloved wife after a long-awaited pregnancy and a shock diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. The title of this post is another. Improbably, the experience of loss and grief has led to a journey of polyamorous discovery with my new partner Pia. not her real name. I'll tell the story of how that started some other time. For now, here's what you need to know. Pia is 42, very curvy, tattooed, short-haired, and one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I'm 36, tall, nerdy, with a dad bod and fairly unruly black hair. One remark before we continue. Please, no judgmental comments regarding how quickly I seem to have moved on from my wife's death. We all grieve and heal in different ways, and while I am choosing to share a piece of my life with you, I don't owe anyone an explanation. This story takes place during our second visit together to Pia's favorite spa out of town, which was rapidly becoming my favorite too. Basically, it's a completely legit, above-board spa establishment, bare but towels on. Except there's an entire floor of playrooms available for more privacy. We had availed ourselves of the playrooms previously and even had banged in the common room with others watching. But what was to unfold this time was a first for both of us. We visited the spa on a gender-balanced night, a lot more women around than on a typical night, which we agreed made for a much nicer atmosphere. After spending some time relaxing in the sauna, hot tub, etc., we went up to check the events on the play floor. The obvious sounds banging emanated from every room. In the common room, 3 couples were playing on a giant bed. We exchanged a daring look, just enough space for us to squeeze in and join the fun, and went right in. Even though each couple was playing separately at this point, getting on the bed felt a bit like joining a cuddle puddle. There was a sort of quiet, supportive camaraderie to it that felt more inviting and less intimidating than I had imagined. The men were all very conspicuously focused on their partners. It pays to advertise. So partly out of a desire to fit in, I decided to follow suit. Pia and I started making out and eventually got into our business. I was dimly aware we had a bit of an audience. The couple next to us had slowed down their activities to watch Pia racing towards her win. Catching her breath, Pia said, "I almost feel like I've had a stroke," but I continued to play with her jugs anyway. It was then that the male of the couple next to us commented on how exciting Pia's win had been to watch. He wasn't wrong. He then asked if we wanted a hand. Pia and I exchanged a glance and decided jointly to say yes. Not completely sure what to do, I scooted over and freed up one of Pia's jugs for him. As he grew bolder and took over, I noticed his partner moving towards me. Let me pause to describe this woman. She was tall and blonde with long, somewhat curly hair, in her 40s, freckly and fit/skinny, with really nice body and a lovely happy smile. And here she was sweetly asking, "Can I see you?" I was unable to form words, but I nodded yes like my life depended on it. What followed was one of the best HJs I have ever received in my life. Her body language was that of a giver who gets excited on getting others a win, and she wanted to do it to me. I never got her name, but she might as well have been the HJ fairy. She made me feel things I can't begin to describe. Off to the side, Pia was now giving the dude a blowy. After everyone got their win, she basically disappeared, along with her male partner. Pia and I lay there, panting, reeling, processing for a moment. That had just happened. And then, without a word, my sweet, sexy Pia smiled and got ready for me. We were far from done. Story 15. Shagging my girlfriend's friend while planning a surprise party. My girlfriend Elizabeth, Liz, is turning 21 soon, so I decided to help plan a surprise birthday party with her. We decided to take her to the beach for a somewhat fancy wine tasting by the ocean party. We all split the money and got 2 hotel rooms right next to each other and rented out a little beach bar thing for the party. My girlfriend's friend Maisie and I showed up early and spent all day decorating both hotel rooms and organizing presents and, of course, buying drinks. 2 of my girlfriend's other friends showed up and dropped off some decorations, then left to go see about the beach bar rental. My girlfriend's friend Kayla was supposed to bring my girlfriend down at 6 today. However, we got a text that they are coming tomorrow because they couldn't skip their works party without it blowing the surprise. My girlfriend's other friends returned with the rental paid for and confirmation of the date and time for the next night. Then they asked Maisie and I if we wanted to go to Topgolf with them. I declined as I wanted to go to the beach, and then Maisie just wanted to stay behind and relax after all day driving and decorating. I got ready for the beach as Maisie sat down and scrolled through Instagram. After I got into beach clothes, I walked out and decided to convince her to come with me. After a little convincing, she switched clothes and came with me. We went down to the beach with some chairs and a bottle of wine. We set up our chairs and had a drink, then I went to go get into the ocean and she decided to join me. I patiently waited as she moved stuff around in her bag and pulled her cover-up off. She pulled off her cover-up, revealing a rather beautiful body covered up by a pink bikini. This was my first time getting to see her this way. We walked down and got into the ocean for a while and relaxed and discussed the plans for tomorrow, then started getting to know each other more. We drank some of the wine and talked. We talked about our jobs and relationships, and then we got to something interesting as we started to get ready to leave as it was getting dark. As we packed up our things, I asked her, "So since you all are best friends, what do you Liz and Kayla talk about?" "What do you mean?" she asked, and I replied, "Like, is there a limit to what you won't share?" She laughed a little. We started walking back up to the hotel, and she goes, "We tell each other everything. We've literally seen each other bare, so telling each other things is not something special." We got onto the elevator to go back up to the rooms, and I asked, "So even the stuff with guys and intimate relations?" She nodded, then answered the question I was really asking. "Yes, I know all about your intimate life, 'cause I know that's what you really wanted to know." I kind of stood there awkwardly until we got off the elevator. "Don't worry, it's only good things from what I've heard." And she tapped my thigh and laughed. "Wait, have you seen?" I asked, and she cut me off with a, "Yes, Connor, we share everything, including showing each other that." I was kind of upset at my girlfriend at first, but then I asked, "When?" We walked into the room and started sitting our stuff down and getting clothes to change into. She said, "One night I was at her house, and you all were texting for like the first time after started dating." I helped her sit up the shot for that picture she sent, and then when you sent one back, she got excited and showed me. I was feeling charged after hearing that, and then I asked, "What happens after that?" This took her boldness away, and she awkwardly said, "Well, I helped her take some more of the pictures, and we talked about how hot you were and how nice your dong was." "Did you see the rest, or just the one?" I asked awkwardly because I knew I had also sent her a video of me. She responded, "All of them. Even the video?" I asked, and she nodded awkwardly. I laughed a little and sat down. "Well, that's just awkward," I joked, and she laughed a little too. "Yeah, it is a little now." "Well, I'm just putting it out there that I've never seen you bare, so this is a one-way street of awkward." She laughed and said, "I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. I am going to go wash all this sand off," she said, and awkwardly exited the conversation and went into the bathroom. I took this time to quickly head to the shower and solo it out. I was desperate. About halfway through, she yelled for me. I looked up at the cracked bathroom door and went to help. I cracked the door open further and asked what she needed. I looked in, and she used the curtain to cover her body as she poked her head out of the shower. "Can you hand me my shampoo and conditioner in my bag?" she asked. I walked over and grabbed it and walked into the bathroom and handed it to her. That's when she looked down and saw my little guy. My face went red, and she took the soap and closed the curtain awkwardly. I went back too embarrassed to finish what I was doing. She got out, and I took a shower and then got dressed. I walked out to find her in her bed on her phone, and I did the same. My girlfriend's other friends got back, and we heard them getting ready for bed in the next room. That's when Maisie looked over at me. "Can I be honest?" she said lightly, almost whispering. I said, "Yeah? Why are you whispering?" She nodded towards the door between our rooms. "I don't want them to hear." I nodded as she rolled over onto her side to talk to me. She put her phone down and continued, "I saw you soloing while I was in the shower earlier." I glanced over and understood. My face burned red in embarrassment. "Crap. I'm sorry. Please don't tell Liz." She laughed a little. "It's okay. Even if I did tell Liz, she's not going to care. You weren't looking at me, you were just helping yourself out." She paused, then continued, "I understand how the conversation earlier made you feel." She paused again, breathed, and then quickly said, "I also understand how it made me feel." I asked, "What do you mean?" She looked up at me from awkwardly playing with her blanket and said, "That night with her really excited me. I went to go take a shower after you guys finished, and I started my thing. And she didn't know I was in the bathroom and caught me. She's teased me every day about it since." Then she blurted, "If I'm being completely honest, I told you that story in some small hope it would lead to something. I cracked the door so you could see me. That's when I saw you soloing off. That's when I yelled for soap even though I had some, so you would maybe do something." I sat there dumbfounded. "Maisie, I was obviously excited, and I think you are hot, but Liz." She was quiet for a while. Then she said two things. "I can text her right now and tell her how I feel and ask if I can try to bang you. She's buzzed right now at her work birthday party. Second, Jackson, we are alone in a hotel room together. I could sit here in my clothes, or I could be bare with you, and nobody would know any different. I was dumbfounded. I had only ever banged my girlfriend. She was my first and only, and I had been kind of sad about that recently, as I knew I would end up with her long term. I had never felt or seen anyone else bare except for Korn. I looked up and said, "You are going to ask her. If she says in any way no, we won't. But if she says yes, then I want to bang you, but either way we aren't going to tell her if we do it." She nodded and started texting Liz jokingly about how hot I was and how she wanted to bang me. That's when Liz responded. It was a snap of her in her room with her hand covering her face in a shocked expression. She was with Kayla spending the night before they left tomorrow. "I've been knowing you want to bang my man," she texted. Then she sent another snap. She was obviously more than buzzed. "Girl, if you can get him to bang you, we can have a 3 score. Then she sent another snap. "I know you liked him before me. I know what happened when we first started dating. I don't mind if you try to make him shag you, but anything past that we will have issues." Maisie then said, "Girl, I'd rather have the 3 score with you than get him to shag me." Liz responded, "We can make that happen, I need some backup." Maisie and I both looked at each other. That's when the worst happened. Kayla knew we were here, and she instantly texted Maisie, "Are you actually trying to bang him right now?" Then Maisie responded, "No, I just saw him at the beach, and I'm a little buzzed and charged right now." Then they proceeded to talk about the party decorations for a bit. Maisie rolled over and looked at me. She whispered, "If you go make sure both doors are locked, I can be yours." I was so excited that I couldn't say no. I stood up and made sure both doors were locked, then flipped the latches. I turned around as Maisie got out from under the covers and walked towards me. She was wearing super thin silk pajama pants that just barely kept things covered and a silk button-up pajama shirt. She walked over to me and put her arms around my neck as I touched her hips. She broke away and we walked in the bathroom and shut the door. She turned the water on to let it heat up and said, "Now nobody can hear us." We did it in the shower and didn't let anybody know about it. Story 16. Banging my daughter's friend. I'm a widower and single parent. I tried to date about a year after my wife's death. She passed in childbirth, but the woman turned out to be married, so I decided I couldn't handle that drama with a 1-year-old and 3-year-old twins. 20 years later, I have really gotten into guided solo sessions including hypnosis, ASMR, and a few other things. Only one kid still lives at home, and she went to the beach for a week. I was enjoying having the house to myself and was in my high-end recliner in the living room listening to a hypno tape, Bear, and following the instructions of the file. Noise-canceling headlines. A few days later, I get a text from my daughter's friend, telling me she is sorry, but my daughter gave her the code to get into the house, and she saw me Bear in the living room soloing off. I was embarrassed and said I'm sorry she saw that, but no one was supposed to be home. She texted me later saying that, while she was definitely caught off guard, what really stuck with her was how impressed she was by my body. I've put a lot of effort into staying in shape over the years. I've still got a 6-pack, even if it's not quite what it used to be. She knows how seriously I take my workouts and how strict I am with my diet. We keep texting, and about a week later, she sends me a very explicit picture of herself, telling me it's only fair since she saw me, and she had to be honest, she couldn't stop thinking about me. I didn't respond, but that night my little guy had fun while looking at the picture. She texts again the next day and apologizes for sending it, stating it was inappropriate, and I hadn't done anything to make her think that was okay. I was in the middle of doing my thing again when she texted me. I told her it wasn't a problem, that it was great, and that I really, really enjoyed it. She asked me if I soloed off to it, and I say, "I am right now." This led to another picture, and she asked if I wanted her to call. I hit the call button, and she picked up immediately. She asked if I was really doing it, right now, and I said yes. She started making little sounds and said, "I wish there so we could have helped each other out." This just stopped all thoughts of, is this right, and we went with it. After about 30 minutes, we hung up. We did this for a few weeks before she asked if she could come over while my daughter was at work. I asked if she was really ready for this, because the next level of what we are doing isn't sitting and watching Disney Channel. She stated she wanted to do it so badly she could taste it. All thought left my mind and told her to come over. She walked through the door, and as soon as she was in, I closed it, and we got straight into it. I felt so frigging stupid afterwards. I realized I just did it with a 24-year-old woman without any protection. I've learned she is on birth control, and we are both disease-free. We have been doing this for about 6 months now. We think my daughter is starting to suspect, but she hasn't really put the pieces together yet. Story 17. I didn't mean to flash my brother's best friend. Or did I? Okay, so I need to spill this tea because it's been living rent-free in my head for days, and I'm still kind of freaking out about it. I'm 19, just vibing at home over spring break, and my brother's best friend Jake has been crashing at our place for a couple nights. He's 21 tall, kind of scruffy in that hot way, and I've maybe had a tiny crush on him since forever. But like nothing serious, just the usual, oh he's cute thoughts, you know? Anyway, last night things got a little wild. My brother was out with his girlfriend, so it was just me and Jake chilling in the living room. I was in my usual lazy outfit, super short pajama shorts, and a cropped tank top with no inners because hello, it's my house and I'm comfy. We were watching some dumb horror movie, laughing at how bad the jump scares were, and sharing a bowl of popcorn. Totally normal, right? Then I got up to grab us some drinks from the kitchen. I bent over to dig around in the fridge, totally forgetting how short my shorts were, and I guess they rode up way more than I realized. Like, I'm pretty sure my buns were out, and maybe even a little more if you catch my drift. I didn't think anything of it until I turned around with the sodas and caught Jake staring, his jaw basically on the floor. Are you good? I asked, trying to play it cool even though my face was already heating up. He blinked, shook his head like he was snapping out of a trance, and mumbled, Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to, yeah. His cheeks were pink, and he shifted on the couch, tugging a pillow onto his lap. My brain short-circuited for a sec, because what? I laughed it off and plopped back down next to him, but now the vibe was different. Like the air felt thick, and I couldn't stop noticing how close he was sitting. Our legs were brushing, and every time he laughed at the movie, I'd catch him sneaking little glances at me. I don't even know why, but I started teasing him a little. Like I'd stretch my arms up so my top would ride up, showing off my stomach, or lean over to grab more popcorn so he'd get a good view of my cleave. Bad, right? But it was so fun watching him squirm. Then it escalated. We were joking about the movie's cheesy intimate scene, and I said something dumb like, Bet you'd freak out if I flashed you like that. He grinned, all cocky, and was like, Try me. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe the sugar rush from the soda or just pure chaos energy, but I lifted my top real quick, just enough to show my jugs, and then yanked it back down, giggling like an idiot. His face. Oh my God, his face. He went bright red, eyes wide, and choked out. Holy crap. Warn a guy next time. But he was laughing too, and I could tell he wasn't mad. More like into it. My heart was pounding so fast, and I was getting that tingly feeling, down there. I couldn't believe I'd just done that. Guess you survived, I teased, nudging him with my elbow. He smirked and said, Barely. You're trouble, you know that. And the way he said it, low and kind of flirty, made my stomach flip. We went back to watching the movie, but I kept catching him looking at me, and I'd smirk back. At one point, he shifted closer, his hand brushing my thigh by accident, and I didn't move away. I kept thinking about what would have happened if I'd flashed him longer, or if he'd reached out and touched. Nothing else happened that night. He crashed on the couch, and I went to my room, but I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering if he was thinking about me too. My brother's back today, so no more alone time with Jake, but I'm kinda dying to see what happens next time he's over. Should I push it further? I'm so tempted. Story 18. My wife's sister walked in on me. We were on a family trip out of state, staying together in a rented house with my wife, her sister, and other family members. It was the kind of trip that was supposed to be relaxing, but one morning, everything changed, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. That day, I had just gotten out of the shower and was in the bathroom, completely bare, feeling the cool air against my skin. I didn't bother closing any doors because I thought I had the bedroom to myself. I was relaxed, not thinking anyone would walk in, especially not like this. My body was reacting in the moment, and I had a stiffy. And then it happened. Without warning, my wife's sister walked into the bedroom. I heard the door open, but didn't realize it was her at first. She came in fast, catching me completely off guard. When I turned, there was no hiding it. She saw everything. I was standing there, fully bare with a stiffy in my hand, with no way to cover up. Her eyes immediately widened when she saw me. She was clearly taken aback, but instead of rushing out or apologizing, she just stood there. I could see the way she looked at me, her gaze lingering for longer than it should have. It wasn't just a surprise, There was something else in her eyes, something curious, maybe even intrigued. She asked me a question, like nothing was wrong, like this was just some casual conversation. My heart was racing. I could barely focus on what she was asking, but I answered her, trying to act like nothing had happened, trying to pretend I wasn't standing there completely exposed, with her eyes roaming over me. And then, instead of leaving, she hesitated. She lingered in the doorway, her eyes drifting over my body one last time before she finally turned and walked out. As soon as she was gone, I was mad. I couldn't believe she had just barged in like that, and even worse, the way she looked at me. It felt like she knew exactly what she was doing. That moment should have been embarrassing, something I wanted to forget. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just angry. I was just excited completely and undeniably charged by the memory. It wasn't just the fact that she saw me like that. It was the way her eyes widened, the way she hesitated, like she didn't want to leave. She'd never looked at me like that before. And then later that day, things got even stranger. As we went about the day, I noticed her brushing up against me not once, not twice, but several times. At first, I thought it might have been an accident, but then it happened again. And again. The way her body pressed subtly against mine, the way her arm grazed mine as she passed, or how she accidentally bumped into me in the kitchen. These weren't random touches. There was something deliberate about them. She had never done anything like this before, but now it felt like she was teasing me, testing me, seeing if I'd react. Each time she brushed against me, it sent a jolt through my body. I couldn't help but replay that moment in the bedroom, the way her eyes had traced over me, lingering just a second too long. I started wondering if she was thinking the same thing as I was. Had she enjoyed seeing me like that? Was she pushing boundaries, or was I just imagining things? By the end of the day, my mind was racing, and I couldn't shake the thoughts. Every time she brushed up against me, my body reacted, and I felt that familiar rush building all over again. It felt wrong in a way, but I couldn't deny it. I was excited, and I couldn't stop thinking about her, about what could have happened if she had stayed in the room just a little longer, or if I had made a move when she brushed up against me. I don't know what she was thinking in that moment, but I can't stop wondering. Was she as excited as I was? Was she testing the waters, seeing how far things could go? Or was it all just my head? All I know is that since that moment, I haven't been able to stop thinking about her, about the way she looked at me, and about what might have happened if we had let things go just a little further. Update: it's only been 2 days since the incident, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Today, my wife brought it up, and her reaction was totally unexpected. Instead of being upset or awkward about it, she found the whole thing hilarious. She asked me, "Do you really think she saw you?" with this playful grin. I was surprised by how casually she was handling it. I walked her through where I was standing, how exposed I was, and how there was no way I wasn't seen. While I explained the situation, I realized I was kind of grumpy about the whole original incident. Then, out of nowhere, she said something that completely floored me. "Maybe I'll ask her, so, how do you like seeing my husband's stiffy?" She was still grinning, clearly teasing, but I was just standing there feeling a mix of confusion, and I don't know what. I think it was the hint of her not teasing that threw me off. Then she casually added, "Oh, maybe I'll talk to her later about it." That really caught off guard. It's a confusing situation, and I'm still a little mad about the original incident, which made me realize I'm more conflicted than I thought I was. The thing is, my wife knows about all the awkwardness that followed, like how her sister kept brushing up against me throughout the day. I don't know if she's serious about asking that question or just trying mess with me, but it's left me uneasy. What if they do end up talking about it? I can't stop thinking about how weird this all feels. I'm just confused. I'm gonna obviously stick with my wife. I'd be stupid not to. But what is going on in my life? I don't even know anymore. Update 2. I got home from work, and the moment I walked in, I could tell something was off. My wife was lounging on the couch, wearing that mischievous grin that told me she was up to something. Before I could even settle in, she started telling me about her day. "So, I talked to her today," she said, clearly enjoying herself. My heart sank. I knew exactly who she meant, her sister. Apparently, she managed to get her to admit she'd seen everything that morning. My wife found it hilarious, recounting how embarrassed her sister had been. She even asked her sister if she enjoyed the view. I couldn't believe she went there, but her sister's reaction was priceless, blushing and fumbling over her words. That's when my wife really leaned in. "Too bad your chance was just a glimpse," she said, smirking. Your husband can't even compare to what I get every day. I could practically hear her sister's face going red with anger. That's not what this is about, she snapped, her tone defensive. It was clear my wife had struck a nerve, and I couldn't help but chuckle at how she told me she kept pushing. Still, I can't shake the worry about what next week will bring with family dinner. Will her sister bring it up again? Will the playful teasing escalate, or will it turn into something more uncomfortable? The idea of navigating that night makes me uneasy. I am glad my wife is confident enough to handle whatever comes our way, but I can't help feeling anxious about how things are going to unfold between everyone. I know where I stand, just not where anyone else does. Update 3. Despite the recent incident with her sister, my wife has been all over me lately, almost like she's proving a point. Multiple times a day, whether it's when I get home, while I'm relaxing, or sometimes even in the middle of doing something else. It's been nonstop. I'm definitely not complaining. This morning, she even woke me up wearing new lingerie. The moment I opened my eyes, there she was, teasing me awake, barely giving me a chance to get my bearings before she had me wrapped up in her. It's like she's making sure I know, and everyone else, exactly how much she wants me, especially after everything that's gone down. Update 4. So, after sitting with everything that happened, I decided to confront my wife because I had this nagging feeling there was more going on. I know her better than anyone. We had a long, honest conversation, and eventually, she admitted she has fantasies about 3 scores. She explained that it's something she's thought about, but it was a hard topic for her to bring up because she wasn't sure how I'd react. I made a point to stay open and reassure her that I just wanted honesty between us, but after she told me, she put a stop to the conversation. I'm respecting her request, but it's left me feeling uneasy. I'm stressed because her shutting down like this feels like she's putting up a wall, and now I'm starting to wonder if she's mad at me just for wanting to understand. Right now, it's not even about what she wants or doesn't want to do. I just want things to feel normal again and for this tension to ease. I feel stuck, unsure if she's mad at me or just give her space and hope she'll come around. I don't know what's going on in my own life anymore. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.